There we go. Papaka. Standard issue Russian headwear of the Tsarist period. Most Russians remained on the Eastern Front, but from late 1914 the Allies asked Russia, the European country with the largest population, for help to the Western Front. On the Western Front. The first Russians arrived in France in 1916, but the Russian Revolution soon put the end of this fount of human resources. You're like a pro, Emil. Okay. Oh! Emil's not doing so well, getting sick, getting exploded on by shrapnel and all that good stuff. Oh, is Emil dead? Oh no. Emil's not dead. Good gosh, this guy's a lucky Emil. It's like Lucky Freddy, Lucky Emil. It's just telling them to kill themselves? This is suicide. It's the last one. Take that. I've had it enough with you.
Was fatal. The Nivelle offensive was a bloodbath, a butchery. Soon, mutiny spread throughout the French infantry divisions, and the offensive was abandoned. Emil was jailed with the other rebels, waiting to be court-martialed.
Wow.
The dogs of war, man's best and most loyal friend, shared the same day-to-day as the soldiers. Whether carrying messages, saving the wounded, or sweeping for mines, they never failed to fulfill their duty.
Oh. Anna needs to help Carl. Wow. Alright. April 9th, 1917, Saint Mihiel, Emil's farm. Alright, come on, Anna.
Bon chien. Hey! Oh, Marie!
Carl. Alright, we're gonna have to help Carl. We're not gonna lose you today, Carl. Not after all this. Stay with me, Carl, stay with me. No! Let's do this again. Carl, don't be... You're being really stubborn right now. Oops. Alright, come on, Anna. We can do this. Oh, good. Carl! Oh my. Should do this again. Oh, my heart's pounding. Come on, Carl. No, not today, not today, Carl.
Car, tiens bon.
Not when you're already with your family.
Allez, Car. Allez, Car.
Ooh, ooh.
Allez, Car. Allez,
I am going to save you, Carl, if it's the last thing I do.
ça va.
Oh,
C'est bon, c'est bon.
bar of soap. Soap was the basis of all hygiene. It was obviously used to wash, but also for washing clothes and mess tins. How it was made depended on local recipes, and it became a rare commodity during the war as oil became scarcer. I need medicine.
C'est bien.
Am I timed? Oh gosh, if I'm timed. That way, hey? X-ray equipment. X-ray technology became available at the end of the 19th century, and scientists soon realized the dangers of radiation. Radiologists were provided with lead gloves, aprons, helmets, and goggles. In military hospitals, they had their work cut out for them and would spend whole days x-raying thousands of wounded men. Does anybody know where I can
Oui,
get?
bon chien.
Where's medicine?
C'est
Medicine!
bien.
Medicine! Glass syringe. A syringe used by nurses to administer intravenous or intramuscular drugs. The needles were not as fine-tipped as today and injections hurt. Medicines was nevertheless making great progress. That way? Where the heck is it? You said it's that way. I didn't see it.
Eh oh!
That way. Carl doesn't have much time. Where is it? Down. I'm sorry, Carl. Oh, there it is. Gotta get to Carl, 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 gotta get to Carl. Carl! No! I'm almost there, I'm almost there. Carl! Give him the medicine. Oh my gosh. Oh no! I can't have any mistakes.
Allez, Car. Car, tiens bon. Allez,
Dun,
tiens bon.
dun,
Tiens
dun,
bon.
dun. Ah!
Allez, Car.
Jeez, they're getting harder.
Tiens bon.
Sheesh.
Tiens bon. Allez, Car. Ça va aller, allez. Allez, oh. Car, tiens bon.
Oh, come on.
Allez, Car. Tiens bon. Tiens bon. Ça va aller, allez. Allez, Car. Car, tiens bon.
Oh my. Carl!
Allez. Allez, Carl.
Carl!
Allez, courage. Allez, Carl.
They just keep coming!
Allez. Allez, courage.
They just keep coming! That's she's smiling, she's smiling. Okay, good. Oh, thank goodness, Carl's still okay. Whew. Good job, Anna.
One look from his son was enough for Carl to forget 3 years of war and exile.
Aww. Yay, Carl.
After weeks without news of Emil, Marie finally received a letter from her father.
Emil Chaillon.
Lazy France.
C'est l'heure.
Is he being executed? Oh, he's gonna be executed. This is a very solemn, ominous walk, because you have to pretty much walk to whatever it is they're going to do. Firing squad. Is there any diaries? Oh, there are. My friend Emil, April 16th, 1917. My friend Emil was arrested today. What on earth did he do? What got into him? I hope he wasn't among the mutineers they are all talking about. I'll go see him tomorrow. April 9th, 1917. We made it. Carl, Marie, and Victor are united at last. It was so beautiful to see them together. The image of them will give me courage to return to the front and tend to the wounded. There's still so much to do. April 9th, 1917. They're here with me at last. Sweet Marie and my little Victor. I don't ask for anything else from life. April 9th, 1917. At last we're together again. I have dreamed of this moment for so long. Is it for real? I wish time could stand still. Okay.
Dearest Marie.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
The war ends for me. I have no regrets. I've seen too much horror. I hope fate has been more merciful to you. Our time
After
on Earth
all
is brief,
this,
and mine has been filled with so much joy that I can only be thankful for how much I've been blessed. Most especially for the wonder you brought into my life. This letter is my last.
Oh,
I've been found
Emil.
guilty by a military court for the death of an officer.
Freddy's there too.
It
Oh,
was not my intention
Freddy.
to kill him.
Oh, there's nothing
War
Freddy
makes
can
men
do.
mad. Though I failed, Carl, I know my sacrifice has not been in vain.
Walt. Oh.
I fought for my country and my liberty. My honor is assured. Since it is the will of God to separate us on earth, I hope we'll meet again in heaven.
Oh my God.
Keep me in your prayers.
The firing squad.
Your loving Papa,
Oh, Emil.
always.
Oh my gosh.
Even though their bodies have long since returned to dust, their sacrifice still lives on.
Emil
We
Chaillon.
must strive to cherish their memory and never forget.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh. That was such a beautiful game. I can't even. Oh, jeez. It just hit me right there. This is a. And the music's not helping me at all, guys. Where do I begin after that? This gives me such an appreciation for people who serve in the military, because you read when you're a kid and you're going to school and you read about all these things in history, including wars. For a lot of people, it's a pain in the butt, because it's like, I gotta remember all these dates, and I gotta remember all these battles, and I gotta remember all of this data for this test, otherwise I'm gonna fail, blah 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 blah, and you just forget. You learn about the reasons why they fought, but you don't fully grasp it, or you don't fully feel, you don't really appreciate it until you somehow are able to put yourself in the shoes of the people who lived through it. And this game is just so beautiful, because as I said, World War I was one of those wars that I didn't learn. I learned about it, but I felt like I never really grasped enough of it.
Hungry
Oh my,
for
is this for the
more.
World War II?
The war was not yet over.
Oh my.
Its appetite was infinite.
I think that was probably like Pearl Harbor or something, like World War II or something. Oh, the music. But what I was saying, it's like, this game is so great because you go through the stages of war through the eyes of four different characters, 5 if you include Marie, 6 if you include Walt. And even though it's not completely accurate, like, I know that, well, based on many of your comments, I think some of the information was a little skewed a little bit, or misinterpreted, or, you know, made certain people look more like the bad guy, like making the Germans seem look like a bad guy. Like, I agree that I think that what the Germans were doing during that time was wrong. That's what I personally believe. But I know that not everyone who was fighting that war necessarily agreed with it. And I know, like Carl, for example, he didn't necessarily agree with what they were fighting for. And you're stuck. And I mean, that was one of the things that really hit me a lot while I was playing this in the middle of the game, were the people who fought but didn't want to, and didn't feel like it was right, but they had to. They had to, otherwise they would be called deserters or mutiny people, who got punished for it. Emil got punished for mutiny. And I just, like I said, you get an appreciation for what war is like. That's war specifically. And it's easy for people like me as an American to take for granted a lot of the horrific things that happens in the world during war, because it's happening right now. This is not just something that happened back in the early 1900s or back in ancient history. Stuff like this that you see in this game are still happening now. And us Americans especially take that for granted. When for so many people in this world, it's their day-to-day life still, and people are still fighting for the freedom and fighting to gain the peace and happiness that they deserve. And the game is so unique in that the art style, like, it's presented in a very comic book-like way, and not even like a dark comic book-like style, even though there are gory images and there are dark images, but the look of the game overall is more is light, but it still deals with very serious issues, and it deals with those serious issues with respect, with the seriousness and with the respect that it deserves. And then, of course, there's the whole tragedy of how war splits families apart into opposing sides. Because you had Emil, who was French, and Karl, who was German, and they were forced to be on opposing sides to fight each other, and that's just so messed up. But it's a reality. That's how it works, and it's so awesome being able to experience a story of this family who came together and had so much love for each other before war came along and just split them in two. It's so beautiful. It's such a tragically beautiful story. But it's also a story about how mankind can come together from different nations, because despite it all, Emil and Karl and Marie and Freddie from America, all these people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, still held together, held true to each other, held the loyalty to each other. Walt and Anna. I just feel so grateful and so appreciative of anyone who is a veteran or anyone who has ever fought for the better of their fellow man, for what they believed was right. And even if they were not necessarily fighting for what they believed is right, but were forced to do it, that like they had to do it, and like they were forced to. How horrible is it for people to be yanked away from their families, from their wives, from their husbands, from their children, being told that you have no choice, you have to put yourself in danger and risk not only your life, but risk turning your spouse into a widow or a widower, or your children without a parent or both parents, for something that you don't believe in, for something. It's bad enough. It's gut-wrenching enough to do it for something that you do believe in, that you do feel passionate about, but when you do it for something that you don't personally believe in or you don't personally think is right, that's where it gets really painful. And I'm so glad that Valiant Hearts was able to show that side of the story, because it's so easy for us to point our fingers into the Germans, for example, as a whole. It's easy to paint them the bad guys when that's not necessarily true. And I'm glad that, as much as possible, Valiant Hearts tried to give this take on the Great War that was as unbiased as possible. I'm not saying that it wasn't biased in certain parts, but I think you could tell it was trying really hard to be unbiased and trying to keep things as factual as possible, so that you could really learn not only the dates and the names in these battles, but the people, what they had to go through, the emotional, everything that they had to go through emotionally in this war. And I'm kind of glad, I'm not happy, that's not the right word. I'm glad that Emil that Emil's ending was that ending, not because I wanted Emil to die. I did not want Emil to die, but I think it was so impactful for you to lose someone, one of the 4 characters. It was the meaning, it resonated with you more if Emil died. It hits you so hard about the reality of war that not everybody gets that happy ending at the end. Because war might be necessary. You could argue that war is a necessary evil, but that doesn't mean we have to like it. Oh man, that hit me hard. Ugh. So again, any of you who have served in the military for your respective countries, thank you. Thank you for risking so much for your country. I know that I try very hard. If I actually see military people like in uniform out in public, where I live, they actually are all over the place. I see them quite frequently. I try to make it a point to go up to them and actually say thank you, and actually thank them for their service. Because I also have friends too who have served in the war. I have had friends who almost lost their lives, and definitely I had friends who have had friends that did lose their lives, and it's very difficult. It's very hard. But thank you very much to everyone who recommended that I played this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. The puzzles were super challenging at times, at least for me. I apologize if a bunch of you were getting really frustrated at me not really quite getting the puzzles all the time. I felt like that I got a good chunk of them on my own relatively quickly, and I feel like the puzzles that I didn't, but in comparison, the puzzles that I really got stuck on was few by comparison. I love Walt. I love Walt. Obviously, you're not surprised that my two favorite characters in this game were Coral and Walt. They made the game for me. I love them. And Emil, I'm gonna miss Emil. And Anna was so cute, and Freddy is just so awesome, and Marie and Victor, I guess Victor just got better. They didn't really fully explain that, I don't think. But war stinks. But I just thank and appreciate everyone who has continue to honor and remember those who gave their lives, even whether they lost their lives during the war or afterwards, because even after a war, it stays with you and it still impacts your life for the rest of your life, and quite often not for the better. So thank you. Okay guys, I think that's enough for now. Whew. I'm gonna need to take a break from this now that I've gotten like super emotional, but thank you guys for watching, and until next time, love yourselves and love each other.